Betty, my sister Betty and me, we had to support the family because my father left. Then.
Oh. What happened?
And then they called him in the army.
How, good Lord, how old was he by then?
I don't know. He's born in 1903.
So did he serve in the army originally and they called him back, or?
No,
Okay.
they just called him. That all the men who never been called, and even because he was excused because of so many kids, until later on.
Yeah, when it got.
They thought they needed him, you know. And then they had to, then they kept him, and he hardly was all in the war. He was a prisoner from Russia for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And when they turned him loose, the Americans took over. They had to pump him out, his lungs and everything, because he was full of water.
Yeah.
They fed him rice and water, and they had to take him to the hospital all the time, and they pumped him out, the water from him.
So.
And that's after he came home, you know.
So, what was it like during the build-up over there when the country was changing and in the 30s? What was that like?
I don't know. I wasn't born until 29.
I mean, do you remember as a kid anything? Did you see a lot more when the military started getting built up? Did you see a lot more soldiers in town, or did you see a lot more people running off to join the army?
Oh, no, not any. The Germans didn't got themselves. They was called all the time. They had to. And over there, when they called you, like a lot of them here, they don't go. You had to go, or they shoot you. Right there, you know. Well, and then trying to think when that was. Heck, I don't know. I was still. I can't remember exactly how old I was, but because it was the building in front of us, it was just like ours. They had it this way round and this way, like a square, like each one of them. There was one in front
it's like
of
a
us.
Courtyard in the middle, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And every time the thing blew, you know, we went down in the cellar. And it broke the windows in our place, in our apartments, and that. But that first block, the whole block, was bombed.
Really?
And it was nothing but bricks left.
So how often did that happen?
Well, with us, it just happened twice, because the one in front of us, there was nothing left of that, you know, the building. And then there was one a street over, and one of them, it got hit.
So,
I got to get me a drink of water.
I get it.
when you, when the war really started ramping up and how did people feel about it? Were they
Scared to death, if that's what you mean.
So it was, they weren't really concerned with victory or defeat. They just wanted, they just wanted it over.
Yeah. That's stuff I sprayed in there.
Oh, yeah.
Turn them bedroom lights off.
Was there a lot of propaganda in the radio and the
Oh,
newspapers
yeah.
about how well it was going and how everything was?
Well, we didn't have a newspaper. We couldn't afford it. But on the radio, we had a radio, and saying that Hitler won that and Hitler made that, and he came in, and you know, and all that. And when I first came over here, that's what made me so mad. I used to, but I didn't know how to get mad. And I could barely talk English. And they said, though, ask me about armies and stuff like that. And they asked me, well, did you meet the Hitler, you know, your
Everybody thought that everybody knew him.
Yeah. And I said, how am I supposed to know to meet Hitler? Well, they said, well, since you're from Germany. I said, how often do you all meet the president? That's the same, different, you know, what's
So
the same.
he didn't really travel the country?
No, he was
stayed?
kind of, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was born in Brunswick, if I remember correctly. That I heard that on the TV. But I wish they wouldn't show all them shows all the time.
Well, you know, it's illegal in Germany to have any Nazi memorabilia.
Well, they're supposed to be...
Like, it's illegal in Germany to wave a Nazi flag. It's illegal there. Like, they'll take you to jail for it. Yeah, you know that. Yeah.
But you can do it here.
Yeah, but you can do it here.
Yeah, they...
But over there, it is.
They can't, what do you call it, catch them or whatever. I don't know. That's what makes me mad. They show it on TV, the flag, and then the swastika, whatever it
Which wasn't the German flag.
And
That's the thing that cracks me up. Everybody thinks that's the German flag, and that wasn't.
What's that?
with
German flag.
with the thing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So they completely replaced everything with that. So all the schools and all the buildings and everything that had the German flag was now the Nazi Party flag?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I didn't find out anything like that before I left, so.
So
I just know one thing. They said if I leave Germany, I use my German citizenship. And then when I came over here, they told me I have to be an American citizen. But which was, both of them was wrong. I should have been a citizen on both of them because I took
yeah, you'd had dual
German
citizenship.
thing, German, what do you call it? And American. We got married in both things, you know. We got married in German and German thing, whatever you call it. In the Rathaus it was, in the courthouse, Rathaus. And I was, well,
Firth was in the southern part of Germany, correct? So that was in the American side once everything.
yeah.
So what do you remember the occupation? When did you first start seeing soldiers coming in?
I don't think I want to put that in there.
Okay, turn it off.
At times. And one day I was standing outside my door and he looked at me and said something. That girl could speak English and I didn't understand. They said something about me. And then he didn't come back. And her name was Virginia. And she said, I think you took my American GI away from me. I said, I did, why? She said, because he told me that you were so pretty and all, he's going to get a hold of you. Go see you. And he did. The next time he come, he wouldn't go up to her apartment, you know, on the third floor. He stopped at mine and knocked on the door. And I couldn't understand very much, and I told him that she lived on the third floor. And no, that's not what I want, you know, something like that. And I wanted to see you. We finally got it across.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, that's how we met. And then actually we went to a club. Not with Jesse, with somebody else. Oh, girls, some of those girls went to the clubs.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was some...
The dance hall, or?
Yeah, because, you know, they invited us to GIs, we
Mm-hmm.
call it GIs. They invited us and we went over there. We went, and it was never one, like they say now, they show it and all that, that the Army was so mean and all that. They always treated us nice. At least my sister, Betty, and me, we always was. And some more girls were, you know, friends of ours. We all went, about 4 or 5 of them. They never touched us, but to dance or something like that, you know. But I don't understand why whoever they got this information from and all.
So did you were still living with your mother at the time, right?
Yeah.
What did she say about all that?
She didn't like it very much. But then she was smoking. My mother was smoking. And then somebody brought some cigarettes to her. At first she didn't want them, you know, have them. And then some other guy, I can't remember, he brought some wood. We had a wood stove and gas stove together. It was,
Jesse, sit still.
oh, half and half. I didn't know. I thought somebody coming. He's got it sideways, something.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so
So
they started bringing gifts, and then she was okay.
So what was it? I mean, how?
just mainly wood and stuff like that. You know, we only got so much. We was on the ration.
Okay, so what were the shortages like? How much were y'all?
Well, like let's say a pound of butter had to last us some whole months.
Oh wow!
It don't make no difference how big a family it was or not.
So did they
And
ration
sugar.
everything, or so everything was rationed, even firewood?
Yeah, if you could get it.
Really?
Mama had to take Betty and me, and then I think it was Lydia, one of the next ones. And we went into the woods and picked up limbs and stuff like that, you know. That's all we could do. We couldn't touch a tree or anything like that.
Wow.
And so we would have a fire to go into
So
the oven. And
when you were growing up, did you see any of the secret police? Were they around during the war? Did you see any? Did you know anybody that just
no.
disappeared
Yeah.
one day? And
That way it was. Like you say, let's just say, I knew Robert.
Mhm.
He was a friend of mine, and like I said, he's supposed to get married. And they called him just one day. I mean, he was as old as I am, maybe a year or two older. He just was gone, he disappeared, you know. And we wondered. And they had to make, his mother and father had to make excuse. He went to see, you know,
okay,
aunt or uncle somewhere, and that.
did that happen a lot?
Yeah,
It did.
especially young people, young men.
So they would just come in and take them to the
At
army, or
night.
take them to the take them to a.
They take them where you don't even know nothing about it.
Where were they making them go?
How old was Robert when that happened?
He was a couple of years older than me.
Like 19, 20?
Yeah,
Yeah,
about
so-
18, 19.
Either military service, mandatory military service, or a re-education camp, which is you don't want to go there. So it was.
What
You
you
want to?
talking? Oh, you
She was
talking
asking me what they were, where they were taking them, and I said, "Well,
we don't
you
know.
either join
He
the
just
army.
disappeared.
You either
We
come
didn't
join the
see
army
him.
voluntarily, or you,
Why?
because that's what a dictatorship does."
That's what. You either go when they call you and go, and they, or you get shot. they didn't give him
It
much
starts
choice
out
over
as,
there.
it starts out as, let's get everybody on the bandwagon, it's exciting, come join the Army. Well, let's say we still need 5,000 more people.
Now
Well,
you're gonna do it anyway.
now you're gonna do it whether you want to or not. You can either come and join us, or you're going to, or
Or
you're a
you
traitor
won't,
to your
you
people.
won't be there anymore.
And that makes the other people that see that go, yeah, I'll join, that's fine.
At 2 o'clock, it's going to be 73 degrees.
So,
Yeah, that's why we thought my father he was older than some of the people. And plus he had a big family. That's what they didn't want at first, you know, because then they
they'd be
had to
desperate.
take care of the family. It's, I guess, what do you call it, like over here?
it's like a farm deferment or a family deferment, yeah.
And
Like welfare.
yeah, like welfare. And but unless somebody disappeared, now my father, they just called him and told him he has to go to, like, let's just say Berlin. I don't remember exactly where he had to go. And he told him that he's got too many kids, he can, you know, and all that. So he just disappeared.
And then you found out years later that he was,
We found out that he was in the Army when he came home after 4 years, and he
shipped off to the Eastern Front, which nobody wanted to go to the Eastern Front.
in Berlin. Most of them had to go, you know, there. Or anyway, we was behind Berlin, and what is that? I have to have a map to think about it. Where they,
Because Berlin is where they cut the country in half.
and yeah,
Yeah.
Russian and whatever on one side, and then Italian and England and Germany on one. Yeah.
Did you know anybody that tried to flee the country or fled the country before all that happened? Did
Yeah.
you know anybody that left? Were there a lot of people that fled the country and
They tried, but they never made it.
yeah, just tried to go on foot or just,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, there was some people, a friend of ours lived down the road a piece, they had a car. They was rich people, see. And they had a car. I got to ride in it once in a while because it was Robert's friend. So they, naturally, because I'm not bragging, but they just always said I was so pretty. Why they took me.
You were.
So,
So when you met Jesse, how long did you date him before you got married? How long were you?
we're over a year.
Really?
See, with the year, it was in 46. Yeah. We met towards the end of the year. Fall, I guess you should call it. And yeah, we met in the fall. And because he was stationed in Fulda. It's
Okay.
way up close to Russia, thing, you know.
Really?
He was a truck driver and mechanic, like
Okay.
whatever the mechanic, whatever you call them, I don't remember. And so he only could come maybe once a week, maybe not even twice, once in 2 weeks. Got to get it straight here. And so we didn't really get to see each other that much, might say, you know. And that's why I say it's a year. It was a year, because then the next year he tried to come more, and he brought Mama wood and stuff like that.
Did he try to learn any German while he was there? Did he?
Yeah, he tried, but he didn't do it with just
Did you
like
try
me,
to
I
learn
didn't
English
do
while
very
you were-
English.
Did you try to learn English while you were there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I was around some of them,
So who taught you? So you learned it from the soldiers.
that, and then Jesse and me talk, and we swap. I'd tell you some German and some English, you know, get it all mixed up. And he tried, and I tried, so that's all it was. But we got enough together, and now it was get married, you know, get married.
Did he ask your mother first, or did he ask you first?
He asked my mother.
Oh, okay.
Well, he asked me if I want to marry,
Oh,
you know. But he had it written, it was written out, and Mama was supposed to sign it. She did. Then she tore it up
Oh, why?
because she didn't want me. I was the first one in the family,
Oh,
marry an American.
I don't know if it's strong enough to reach over here.
So anyway,
were y'all, were the people in your town, your family, everything, were they accepting of the American soldiers, or did everybody say no?
yeah, a lot of them wouldn't, you know, why do you go with that person or that guy, or, well, I can't say what some people say, you know. But another thing, I went to the club, and what do you call him, captain? Something like that. A guy who was over it, I want to say chaplain. It was a chaplain. That's who really met her. I met it, Jesse, through him.
Okay.
In the club, you know, that was before he left. And then Jesse told him to take care of me, you know, let nobody else come, you know. And I didn't know that until later on when they told me. So when we got married in Germany first, and then I think he's the one who started it, that we have to get married in English too, American, otherwise they won't let me come into the country.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to get married again. See, well, Jesse's still in his uniform.
Did he tell you about where he was from in America? Did he tell you that he was from Louisiana and all about his family, or did y'all talk about that at all?
No, he didn't say much.
So he didn't tell you where you were going to be living, or
No, because for one thing, see, I was used to a bathroom all my life. I got down there to Louisiana, no bathroom, an outhouse, and use catalogs to wipe yourself.
Were you scared? Just
Yeah, I was ready to go back home.
I can't
Well,
imagine.
then he was stationed in Virginia.
Yeah, Daddy was still in the Army.
Yeah, he
He
was
had to
still.
leave her.
In fact, I was pregnant, and it was, you know, a year later, I guess. We got married in 47, came over here in the first part of 49 or something, I don't know. But anyway, I got pregnant with Peggy just about right away. She's born in 49.
Mm-hmm.
We got married in 47, and she's born in 49. And
did y'all?
no, I didn't have it beforehand.
Did y'all?
I didn't have that kind of.
Did y'all take a honeymoon? Did the Army give him some leave while he was stationed over there to go anyplace? So, where did you live once you got married in Germany? Where did you live? Did you still live with your family, and he
We
went
had
back?
to leave.
Oh, so immediately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesse was fixing the reason sign up again,
Mm-hmm.
and otherwise he had to go home or you to sign up again. And at first he did. He said he would, because then that way, when he came over here and they give him a choice maybe to go back to Germany,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't do it.
So he didn't re-up. Okay.
But anyway, I had to stay with his mother while he was stationed in Virginia
Okay.
because the doctor said that I couldn't go any later, drive any later. What is that noise?
Because that's him playing with that.
Oh,
So when you came over,
we were stationed in Bremerhaven for about, I think, 2 or 3 days
okay.
till they got the boat we were supposed to come over on.
What's the noise?
So it was all the brides of the American soldiers, the war brides, had to travel together from one port, one destination.
Yeah, we wanted to. We didn't. At least me, I didn't want to be by myself.
Okay.
And I know there was a couple of them more because one of them,
Were there a lot of? How many were there?
I think there was, on my ship, about 10 or 12.
Okay.
It was surprising how many, you know. One of them from Pennsylvania, a friend,
Is that Irma?
Irma. Well, she was English though.
Yeah.
She,
So you had to sail from there to New York.
and yeah. And then I stayed in New York for 2 weeks. I had
Having fun?
my aunt there.
Oh, okay.
She was my godmother's sister. And
Is that Tante Louise?
Lena,
Oh, that was Tante Lena.
yeah. And she had a sister in New York. Yeah,
Okay.
hers name
That
was
was Tante
Louise.
Okay.
So you had family in America.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But they've been here years and years and years, you know.
Mhm.
And then my godmother's daughter came over too.
Mhm.
She stayed with them in New York.
So you came to New York in what year?
47.
47? What was that like?
It was a change.
They had bathrooms, didn't they?
Yeah, they lived in big houses. I don't mean they was rich, but they lived in big houses. You know,
What was-
Manfred was his name.
What was that like coming to New York? Did you think that America all looked all like that? Or?
Yeah, that's what I thought because what we saw on the boat, from the boat and all that, you know, we saw the
South
statue
Louisiana looked like.
of Liberty, the Statue of Liberty,
Mhm.
and all that. And
Well, it's just like people over here. If you told people you're going to Germany or another country, they would just whatever they see.
on TV.
It's not like
and
you
all.
studied America in school.
No, really.
Yeah.
See, now, I mean, it was, I say now, several years later when I came over here, they started teaching English in school.
Mhm.
Well, they never done me that when I went to school. Not even, well, can't call it college over there, we called it, what do you call it?
Like finishing school.
Like
No,
Garden? Like kindergarten is the.
the next one, school,
Yeah.
then the Hochschule.
Like after
Yeah.
high school.
High school, the high school. Yeah. And that wasn't too bad. That's what I was doing. But I was working and going to school.
Okay.
See, it was kind of like college, but it wasn't.
More relaxed. You had.
But I only
classes in
could
the
go
morning, you
like
could work
maybe
in the
say
afternoon.
2 or 3 days a week, half a day, because I had to work the other half. See, and like that. So anyway, but yeah, we had to leave after we got married. They wouldn't, because they said I wasn't German and I wasn't an American, so we had to leave.
Hmm.
I don't understand, because when I got over here, I was an American. Because I took,
So
didn't you all find the papers and stuff?
you stayed in New York 2 weeks,
Yeah,
and then where'd you
visiting.
go?
We came down to Louisiana.
So that was your first, and you traveled by car, I assume? You drove down there?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think when you first got to the South, when you got into
When I
Louisiana?
saw some of that stuff, I was so surprised. We must have gone in the bad thing because we went down, what is it, Winfield and all down that, you know, really. And some of that stuff, that is what I was trying to tell you.
Oh yeah.
Did it surprise you how big the country was? How long it took you to go from New York to that? Did you have any idea how big America was, or did you think that was a long trip?
Because to me, Germany looked just as big because went from Nuremberg to Munich, you know, I had to go to get the paperwork and stuff done. After I finally took it away from Mama, well, she couldn't tear it up anymore. And she tore it up twice or 3 times and had to get her to sign it again, and I took it away. Or that is, Jessie took it in, so she couldn't.
So when you got down to Louisiana, who did you stay with? Did you stay with his family?
Yeah, his mother and stepfather.
And what was he doing then when he got out of the Army? Or he was still in, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Okay.
he was in too. I don't remember how long. I think for nearly a whole year.
Stationed in Virginia?
Because he had to finish out his, you know. And in fact, he's supposed to sign back up, not get out. And yeah, at first he did. That's what he told him at home in Germany. He's going to come back, you know. But he fooled me. And I told him, as much as I could understand him, that I'm going to go back home. If that's what it's going to be like, you know. Especially when I went to see his mother.
So she wasn't happy?
Well, I don't know. And she was the kind of woman you never could make up yet if she was happy or not. Or good, you know, when he was stationed in Fulda.
In where?
Fulda.
Okay. Okay.
That's where it is.
So when he got out, he moved back, he came back down.
Yeah, he was going to farm.
Okay.
Because he really was a farmer at heart, I guess, to start off with. But he tried it for, I think we did a year or 2, and it just didn't work out.
So other than the bathroom?
But other things, I was what do you mean other than the bathroom?
What was the biggest change?
The stove, no icebox.
Okay. Other than the creature comforts, other than the utilities, what was different about America from Germany?
The house itself. It had, what do you call it, slats on it, I think. It had the boards and then slats on it. I remember that part. And
What did you think about the people in general? Did you get to meet a lot of people?
not at first, no. Well, I met some nice ones in Virginia. We found a little house out by the ocean. And it had a downstairs and upstairs. And it was really nice. It was fixed up, you know. It had a bathroom and everything. This was fixed up nice. And we could rent it as long as he was in the Army. So we did. And I enjoyed that. The only thing is I was kind of by myself. To finally I learned some people. They was in the Army too. Well, when we first got up there, and we had to go find something to stay in. In fact, I think if I remember 1 or 2 nights we slept in the car because we couldn't find, you know. Then we found an apartment close to the railroad tracks. And I had a screaming fit. Rats that big was from the railroad to the house. The house was sitting right there, just about to flow to this.
So did you
up
stay
to the
in,
wall, you know.
Did you stay in Virginia before you came down to Louisiana, or did you go back?
And I stayed there until the doctor wouldn't let me
Okay.
till I was pregnant and the doctor wouldn't let me drive anymore.
Okay.
Oh, I did. So anyway, I forgot how long it was. I think I was 7 or 8 months when I had to come back.
So he rented that
And
house.
that's when I had to stay with his mother.
Okay.
And she was a, elderly lady and that, and she
Grouchy.
never, huh?
Grouchy. She was grouchy.
No, she wasn't grouchy. She just didn't look like an education a person,
Yes, ma'am.
which I think they didn't have a lot of education.
Were you surprised at
And
all the cars that we had in this country compared to Germany?
yeah, but another thing what got me really upset was having to go down the creek, get water for a tub, and have a what do you call it?
Washboard.
And go down there and get the water and then bring it up the hill and wash clothes and stuff. And when Jesse, he probably called me, I'm trying to remember his name. His friend of was after Jesse's, and he had a phone and he told Jesse call him and he come and tell me, what he said. And he said it wouldn't be long now till he came and all that. And so anyway, when he finally came, it was, I think, close to the end of the year because it got cold then and snowed. And that's when it was. I had it twice. We made a false sweet on. She wanted to come and didn't come.
Okay. Which, that was in February of 49.
Yeah.
So, when did you and Jesse get your own house? When did y'all get your first house? After you moved out of his mother's house. How long?
After she was born, Peggy, I won't keep pointing there, she told it. After Peggy was born, he had some friends. I'm trying to think of the Woody. I remember calling him Woody. He owned a place, and farm and was doing cotton. And because I went out there too, they said that you like it, pulling cotton, the flowers off of it and all. And I said, I don't think I like, excuse me. And so anyway, I guess I'm talking too much already. Anyway, I don't know what you call it. Didn't know that. But anyway, he furnished us a nice little house and everything, The only thing we didn't have was a bathroom. They didn't have no bathrooms in the country. But they did. His name was Woody. Woody another. Oh, Woods, his last name. I think they called him Woody, if I remember correctly. And anyway, that in the big house where they lived, they had a bathroom and refrigerator. I got a refrigerator in that one. The only thing I bought, the stove, was still wood. You had to get it fired. Jesse had to make me a fire before he left in the morning. And then later on he come back and had to redo it. I was in chairs most of the time. And then Peggy fell off the bed. We're both laid down to go to sleep, and was in after lunch. And I fell asleep because I was squalling so much and crying so much to I fell asleep and Peggy didn't.
And so she fell off the bed.
Yeah, she fell off the bed.
Didn't
And they really started squalling.
Didn't you carry her out in the field hollering after him?
Mm-hmm.
So he was farming at the time. He was working.
Yeah.
Okay. Planting
And-
cotton.
And I think it was just about ready to pull cotton.
Okay.
Because they said it's flowers, you know, I remember that. And then he tried to explain to it what it is,
Yeah.
cotton, and then
The cotton seeds, when they bloom, it turns into a white.
white
And
ball,
you got to go
like,
pick them off the.
and it's sticking.
Yes, if
Sticky.
you've ever done that, cotton burrs, they'll tear your hands up.
Yeah.
You're picking it, you drag a sack behind you that you fill. Yeah, it's not fun. I've never heard anybody come back from picking cotton saying.
Oh,
it was a
you
blast.
knew about it too, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to get my sock on if I can. But anyway, it didn't do any good. We made it a year and part of another one, and he said he's just not a farmer anymore. So he tried to find him a job, and they let us stay there in that house until Jesse found him a job. And there was a friend, I can't remember his name. He came to see us, and he was working in a place like it is here in Shreveport.
Like a factory?
Yeah, that build it, the tanks or whatever they.
Oh yeah, sheet metal?
See, that's what
Sheet
he
metal
was.
work?
That's what he was, and so he talked Jesse into doing that. And then he had a nice family down there, and they, I don't know, we went to see him a couple of times, you know, that was real nice. They lived on the main highway. So anyway, but Jesse said no, he couldn't stay there, he can't farm anymore. And it wasn't any good for me. Then he blamed me for part of it. I remember that. Because I was crying all the time, and well, I have some pictures, and I went down to skin and bones.
Did you talk to your family at all? Were you writing letters back home? Or?
Yeah, I was writing letters. But I didn't talk to him. We didn't have a telephone at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a telephone here. I got to watch my tree. It gets kind of hot. I have to turn it off. And anyway, it was awful. Let's put it that way.
So when did you move up here?
Let's see. 54.
And that's when Jesse started working up here for
And he worked for that thing that,
the sheet metal plant?
yeah, he worked for Sheet Metals.
Okay.
And before it then, wherever there was a job, he was following sheet metal work, you know. And we met some nice people there. Then I think he went to Shreveport. Just all the time, I mean, wherever there was work, you know, they moved to have. Then we got us a trailer.
Okay.
Jesse had an old Cadillac. And, well, he had an old sitting down, whatever that was, I don't know. Don't remember, but that was after the Cadillac, I think. I don't remember. I know one thing, we had a Cadillac and then a old-timey car, one of them, they coming back, those square-looking cars. That's why I learned to drive on that shift on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I learned to drive on out in the country.
So when did you start working? when you were over here? That was years later?
Yeah.
So
years
you-
later.
Well, we traveled quite a bit from one thing to the other. Then we had trouble with thing because Jesse got tired of moving around all the time. The trailer, that first little trailer we had, it was Jesse, me, and the kid, 2 kids. And we was going down the road, you know, we didn't know it, but one of the tires blew, I guess, or something, and anyway, it caught on fire. That whole side, what wheel is, caught on fire. So we had to get it fixed and all, and it just wasn't it. So anyway, he got tired of moving around all the time and that. So he decided he'd try something else. And I don't know if that was before Oklahoma. It was after Oklahoma because too, I had 2, Peggy and Wanda, the 2 little kids then. And anyway, that.
So when did he move? When did y'all move back here and he took over at the farm?
In 54.
54. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how he found this. Anyway, he was tired of moving all the time, you know. The kids go from one to the other, and one to the other place, let's put it. So he started looking for a job where he could go in one place. And I don't know, I can't remember how he got this. I mean, that down there. And I think he either saw it in the paper or something. And he started talking to Mr. Lyons, or he told her that he had to talk to Miss Lyons. She was the boss of the farm. And he went, and he made a good impression.
Stop.
Baby, don't tear it down, please. I don't know why.
He's just getting fidgety. It's about time to go outside and play.
Yeah. Anyway, and she liked him a lot, seemed like, you know, and I got to talking and all that, and I don't know, because she only talked to him. I was never included in the farm, I mean in the business. That I don't understand, the talcum powder. Turn it off. Miss Lyons, when they came out to look at the farm, we went to you know, because they had to meet the family then and all that. And then we had a swimming pool and everything up there. And we went, and she said they're gonna build us a house, but until we do, we can stay in a big house, what they called the big house. It was I don't know if you saw it. It was a huge, big.
Was that the rock house?
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of it.
And,
Because
yeah.
I don't think it's still standing anymore.
Yeah,
Oh,
No.
it is?
The house is, I think,
yeah, somebody bought it, lives in it.
Oh,
they've been
Our house is not still there.
okay.
No.
That's why I got confused. I remember the apartment's not there anymore.
and no, and they've been breaking it up in
Yeah.
pieces, in acres,
Yeah.
acreage. Because there's one next door, I don't know, that's some kind of oil
Yeah.
companies doing whatever they do. And then there's one house there by the lake, and then there's one on the other side, and in fact there's 3 or 4 all broke. The
So-
land's broke up now.
He basically managed the the cattle and everything that happened
Everything.
on the farm?
Yeah.
Their tractor, their equipment, the cattle, everything. For
And
them.
then they had a oil well over there.
Okay.
He had to take care of that.
But he actually,
But
they actually bought, he went with them to buy the cattle. He
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
So he was like the ranch manager. I mean, he
Yeah.
managed
He did.
everything that was there. That was his.
yes.
he just had to report to Miss Lyons all the time.
Okay.
And then, well, Mr. Lyons too, but she was really the boss of the farm. Mr. Lyons was in all, you know.
Yeah,
And-
Lions Petroleum.
They had
I
a,
know the name. Yeah.
huh?
I said that name is still around in Shreveport and in the area. You still the Lions name is still.
Yeah, he run one time, you know, for governor. I think he was governor or something.
Yeah, it's not like that.
But
So tell me about Jesse. What was he like?
what was he like?
What was he like?
What made you fall in love with him?
I know. Well, he was good looking, but he was nice and friendly, and you know,
Was
I
he a
don't-
quiet person, or did he like to talk? And
no, he didn't. He didn't talk that much, especially at first. Until I asked him to teach me more English, you know, and that.
so he was happy with you not saying a word.
No, he tried to make me learn a lot of stuff. And then I told him that I like to read. If I can go ahead and start reading, maybe I can learn stuff more. And I did, you know. He bought me some magazines.
Mhm.
And he, like I said, he was a good guy then. And then when we finally settled down over here, I don't know, Pretty Gill always says I go in the wrong direction. Anyway, when we finally, they built us, no, there was a house, it was little, but they're gonna finish it and all that and, you know, set it up some. And she let us stay in the big house until they got the house finished. And he was really nice, loving, you know, for me, and I was too. I couldn't do anything without him, I thought. Until he tried a boat, be out so many days and come in, you know.
Worked on a tugboat,
Okay.
And yeah,
like a hand on a tugboat.
So
He
did,
drove the school bus for a few years.
and then then he went to a school bus drive.
And that's when you went to work at Willis Knighton.
And,
Oh. Because you retired from Willis Knighton, didn't you?
21 years.
She started working at a donut shop.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's when he come by from one day from the boat and then. But
Stop it for
you got it on. Came out. They brought food to the house wherever, you know, for one thing, and then they wouldn't let me go and see him because they said the car was all mashed up, and he carried a big old toolbox in the back of that little car. And the toolbox is still here, I think, but he still got it, that
Yeah.
metal toolbox. And when it hit to the back of him and tore his head all to pieces, they said.
And he was hit. Was it a drunk driver that hit him, or what?
Yeah, well, that they said he wasn't drunk. But you tell me a person stays out fishing all night and drinking beer, that they not drunk. And they said that's what a drunk was. That's the truck who hit him. See. And I didn't have sense enough. I didn't even know anything really.
Yeah.
You might say.
I was in Houston with Betty Gill and Wanda,
Yeah, I've heard that story.
and then, yeah.
I've heard
your
that story from
yeah,
Dad.
your dad got
And
that call.
uh,
But Mother and Lori were coming home, and our neighbors stopped them down in Greenwood.
no, my supervisor,
No, Mom.
Patsy Procell.
Mr. Gene Dunn stopped you at the road down there. You and Lori were coming back from town. And Mr. Gene Dunn stopped and met you in Greenwood and wouldn't let you come home. and said, Jesse's been in an accident. You don't need to go through there.
No, the way I remembered it was Patsy Rosell and Mr. Jones. They came out because I was working for them.
Yeah, they came out here and brought you some food, but that was after.
But they also bought the car. They said, you don't need to see that.
Right. But you found out about it from Gene Dunn.
Gene Dunn, I thought it was Sonny Hagen.
Well, one of those men, one of our neighbors, stopped you because they didn't want you driving up on it because it was, it happened right
Yeah,
here.
because they said it looked awful.
For the longest time because the guy had paint cans in the back of his truck, and for the longest time there was paint splattered across the highway, and you had to drive over that every time.
And all, and yeah.
Back and forth.
Then, a year later or so, they started saying you should have sued Dunes. After the police checked it all out and wrote it all out, you know.
Yeah, I don't.
But that wouldn't have made any difference, Mother.
Yeah,
He
that
was
would
still
not.
gone.
What was that?
Cartoon.
That's what it is, yeah.
It wouldn't have made any difference.
No, that's true. But like they said, I would have had a little money to live on, but I didn't then believe like people do nowadays. They sue about every little thing.
Well, I was going to say, and that didn't happen back then. You didn't.
Well,
You didn't sue people for
they
millions
had
of
a little bit-
dollars, and
You had a little bit of
didn't.
life insurance.
Yeah,
Because it was
I
an
got
accident, you got
$1,500 from this work. Huh?
Well, but since it was an accident, you actually got double, didn't you?
$1,500 is all I got.
So,
How long after that did y'all stay in that house?
You know? Oh, about 2 years, I think. I don't know what.
nah,
2 years.
yeah, Lori was still in high school.
You still was going to school too?
Yeah, we stayed in there until after I graduated,
Because Peggy lived with us,
right behind
Then-
us.
and yeah, her and Red moved up here in a house trailer on the place. And Peggy took care of the kids,
Okay.
of Terry and
I was
Lori.
16.
Huh? Yeah, you was 16, and Lori was
12.
12. Because I got on Social Security. You know, Jesse Social Security, I through them about.
And the school was good to us that next year. They didn't make us pay
Yeah.
tuition for the next year.
'Cause
So
you
I
were
got
going
through
to
my
that-
senior
You were
year.
going to that Christian school, wasn't
Friendship Academy.
it? Okay. That was a private school?
Friendship,
Okay.
yeah.
And then Lori left and went to Huntington.
Okay.
She didn't graduate from Friendship.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you? Well,
Yeah, I just
no,
haven't-
yeah, I remember you was 16 years old,
Yeah.
and Lori was 12, 13, something like
12.
that.
And then how long after that did y'all move here? Where'd you go after that?
From there to here.
So married to here and you've been here since?
Yeah, we bought this place.
Okay.
It's 3 acres. And,
Daddy had bought this before he died.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
So Mother got a mobile home and moved here. Betty Gill and Philip were already here.
Okay. So that house is already here? Or they
No, they had-
no, they had a little mobile home
Okay.
over there. And then,
And then Peggy and Red moved up there.
yeah. I
And
mean,
the other-
they had a small trailer too. We all got up to bigger ones then later on. But who in the world? No. You missed it. But anyway, that's what happened. And then about 2 years, and then Charlton Jr. took over, and he said, since I'm a woman, you know, I can't take care of the place, he'd like for me to move.
Mhm.
And that's when I started hunting and that. And so I had the $1,500 from Jesse, so I went and bought me a mobile home.
Tell me about
Can you hear it?
your holidays in Germany. Tell me about Christmas.
Christmas.
Mhm.
Well, we have the bells medal.
And before
That's when it comes Christmas,
Okay.
but we didn't. He comes early. I can't remember exactly if it's the end of November and the first part of December. And you tell him what you want for Christmas.
So what's the difference between Bell's Medal and Santa Claus?
Huh?
What was the difference between Bell's Medal and Santa Claus?
Listen,
Nothing? That was just what y'all called him?
yeah, bells medal.
So did y'all have any,
And like, we have them, well, they kind of dressed like they are, red outfit and, and all that stuff. It's just like it.
did y'all have anything special y'all ate during that time?
Yeah,
Any
if
special food?
if we could get it.
What did
Like
you have?
the Christmas of, well, let's see, I came over 47, must have been 46. Yeah, Christmas of 46. Jesse brought us a goose. My mother cooked it for Christmas.
So it was hard, I assume it was hard to get fresh meat.
Hard to get, we didn't get anything. You didn't get nothing, you get a, what do you call it? See, it's hard for me, I need to know ahead of time what you want to know.
Y'all have rations, right?
Yeah.
Was it always like that?
Yeah, until I left, it was. And they had it for certain things. Then when I left, they had it like for shoes and clothes. They still had it like that. But they could get fruit if you can afford it. In food, But anyway, my mother was glad to get that because she didn't mind doing the work. The only thing it didn't get through with, they cut us our gas off. And so she had to cook it in 2 different times, She will only get so much, like if you turned your gas on at 8 o'clock, at 10 o'clock it'd go off. They just shut you off. It's got that kind of stuff,
How far back can you remember, when did they start rationing? When did things start getting hard to get?
When the war broke out. I think it was, 44?
37. 36, 37.
No, not the actual war.
But Hitler invaded Poland in 1939. So what was it like before that?
I don't know. I don't remember. But as far as I remember, like going to school, we walked to school. And it was about, I was trying to figure it out, about 2 or 3 blocks. We had to walk to school. And we got a pair of shoes. I can't remember now exactly. I think in 6 months we got a coupon for a pair of shoes. Each individual person. And then for clothes too. And I'll tell you one thing, you wore hand-me-downs regardless. They looked nice or looked good or what. It was awful.
So what was school like?
Well, they're about the same over here. You have 1 hour, let's say 1 hour arithmetic, 1 hour that, 1 hour that, like that. And we got for school from 8 to 12. Then we had 2 hours for lunch. And we came back and went from 2 to 4 or 5. It's according to what age group you was in.
Did they have any after-school activities or extracurricular activities?
Mm-hmm.
What all did they have?
We had, in the summertime, we had swimming, play balls, and I don't know, I That's about all, I guess. That's all I can remember. In a long time.
So, leading up to the war, what were there people talking about it? Was it a big deal? Was it a big thing, or did
No, you didn't hear nothing about it.
Really?
Everybody was scared to talk about it.
Really?
Yeah.
So there was no people weren't excited about it. It wasn't, in the newspapers and everybody was talking about it.
No. You didn't say anything over there. If you talked against Hitler or something like that, you wasn't there the next day.
So it's not like here.
Huh?
Not like here.
No, I tell you, the way they talk and all that kind of stuff, no. But I mean, in a way, I guess it kind of do it in a way. Some people, shooting all the time, and then for what reason it gets me. And but over there, better than there was talked about Hitler or his SS troops at that. And like me, I didn't even know anything about it. That we had all them big troops and stuff like that, and that's how it didn't come out. Besides, I was still a kid, but still.
But they didn't have. There wasn't a big things like parades or anything like that through your town or anything like
For
that.
the wars?
Mhm.
No.
Really? Okay.
The only thing, that was just before I left, though, actually, I heard the people start talking about them black people. All of a sudden, we have black people around here. We never saw any before. See, we never had any. And that kind of kept you quiet, though. You couldn't talk about it either. They're weird.
So when you first saw American troops and they told you that the war was over,
The black ones, they said they night fighters.
Wow.
That's why they black. I guess. But I'll tell you one thing, what scared me
That's
and my
so
sister.
funny.
We lived, I really need to draw it like, okay, there's a building here, then there's a small street across there. And then there's another building, and they kind of make a thing like, what are you?
yes, ma'am.
All of them, different. But there's 4 stories high. Our apartments, we lived in the bottom one, and everything. And then they went from one place to the other. Well, the first, we missed it. We just had windows blown out and stuff like that. But that one across the street, the whole thing, they knocked it down. It was nothing but rubble left,
So how many times how many times did your area get bombed? How many times did something like that happen?
Well, right there where I lived, I think twice. But it went, that way, and then maybe that way, but the area right there only got bombed twice because they knocked all the buildings down so they didn't come back again. They needed new stuff to knock down. The Americans.
So when the Allied troops liberated your town, did they come through and tell you the war was over? Did they come through, and how did you find out the war was over?
It was the Burgermeister, that's the mayor, and came, and they kind of had it, in the building, and it was doing the advertising, you might call it, and he was telling us to be quiet about it and all that, but the war is over. At least they pretty sure the war is over, And then,
He's just holding it.
on that day? And anyway, so
he
I
had
was trying to think of
he had a town hall meeting. The Burgermeister had a town hall meeting and told
all
everybody.
the higher people, like one in our building. There was always one person, you know, who took care of the whole thing, and they was in with it, and they was told, and then they tell you about it, and it gradually leak out, you know, and all that. But there wasn't a big to-do about it in there because everybody was still afraid. We was afraid, you know. We
Afraid
lived
of-
in a cellar for days.
Really?
Yeah. We had it then made up, you know, and they're just like living there.
And this was during the time that your father was still missing, right?
Still what?
Your father was missing during this time, right?
No, I'm talking about now before that, what's going
Okay.
on. They, see, they got him, let's see, the war was in 4 years there, because Jesse came over in 46. Yeah. No, he's been over there. That's when I met him in 46. But I see what you mean, but that's not. Anyway, they got him in the army the last year before it went.
kidnapped him.
Before it could. No, he had to go.
Well, yeah, I mean, they told him if he didn't go, he was going to prison.
Shot.
Yeah,
He'd be
for a shot, yeah, okay.
And why they held him off so long because they never paid the women or the family, you know, when you have a bunch of kids. But then they run out of, I guess, people out of menfolk, and they made him go. Him and one of our other neighbors, they had to make him. And after they came and got him, we didn't see no more or heard from him.
And for how long?
We didn't hear anything else anymore.
I thought you
They-
the last time. I
they-
thought you said he
came back. for
Yeah,
a
he
while.
came back.
No, he didn't come back from the army. The Americans.
Came back from a Russian prison.
Yeah.
didn't he? Yeah.
And because they had to let him go, anybody if got sick, they made him go, knocked him out. And the Americans brought him, and they took him to an American hospital and pumped out his stomach because he started having fluid on him constantly for eating all that rice, they said. And that's every so often the Americans took him to the hospital and pumped out his stomach until he died. Until he died. I was over here. I came in 47. When did I go back over there with you? You was 18 months old.
Yeah, so it would have been 62.
6 years, something like that. And I went over there. Anyway, Mr. Lyons paid for me, and so I went over there, and he was still alive then. Then I came back. We stayed not quite a month, 3 weeks, I think. And then we come back because my mother was so sick with cancer, she didn't tell me. My sister told me, you know. But anyway, they, I don't know how to say it, but I didn't know. I met him in town. We walked into town, Ferd and one or two of my sisters. And they went with me. Well, I went with them because I didn't even know anything anymore. Everything had changed. What wasn't tore down or broke down from being bombed.
Yeah, because Firth is part of Nuremberg now. And if you look at it on the map.
It always been that way.
Oh, okay.
Further Nuremberg is just like Shreveport and Bossier.
Oh, okay.
It's just a big highway between
Firth
them.
was the nice part of town?
And what do you mean?
Like Bossier's the nice part of Shreveport, Bossier?
No. Over there it was the same. I mean, further Nuremberg. Nuremberg was bigger, let's put it that way, than Furth, you know. But anyway, I saw him, but they wouldn't let me go talk to him.
Your father?
My older sister,
Why not?
because he wouldn't come and see Mother and all that. See, they was divorced already. They went divorced before he went in the army. And anyway, then they said he was too mean and some whatever you call it. I want to say dirty, but I don't mean dirty, but that dirty, just acting dirty. And so I just walked down on one side of the street and he came up on the other side. And then we came back over here, and let's say, because she was only 18 months old. She was the baby then, that's why I took her with me, I couldn't leave her. And anyway, came back home, and came over here, came back, and I was trying to think. I think it was Betty, me, Annalise, Lydia, Hildegard, and Lori.
So there were 6 girls.
Mhm.
Wow.
So
So there were 5 of us.
I know, and it's
what was
no wonder we were all girls.
what was the landscape like in Germany where you were from? What was it? What was the area like
Oh,
in Firth?
it's like here, only it was nice and clean over there. People kept their places clean. Farmers, they've done their whatever they need to do, like plow and that kind of stuff. But still, they have it clean and that,
Did you ever
They don't.
travel, or did you and your family ever travel anywhere around the country? Or?
No, not when I know old enough to go. We wouldn't allow it.
Yeah. Once the war broke out, they wouldn't let anybody travel, right?
No. You had to have a certain permission and that, especially to go on a train or something. And we didn't have no cars hardly. Very few people. Now, a friend of ours, they had one, but they're kind of more the rich people, and they had a car. But you couldn't go nowhere. You didn't have no gasoline. You didn't get any because it was rationed. And you didn't get none, unless it has to be collected some way to the government, I guess you would call it. That's about all I know. From the younger years. It's
So,
just,
I think I worded this.
and I'll tell you, after, I need a piece of paper to show you. It don't have to be big, it's just, a little piece I want to show you what I'm talking about. God, I didn't realize I had so much written on there, there's different things. I just want to explain it to you because I'm having a hard time trying to make you
fine.
visualize that, Okay, John, let me...
I'll get up here. You just stay there.
That's a building.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like that. It was like that. And then there's a little road. It's not actually a road. It's a highway. It was just a wide street,
Mhm.
that because nobody could go through it. Actually, you walk. And this is the other. Okay, we lived here in this one. That's where we lived, right here. And looked out the window. They bombed this one. Every bit of it went down when they bombed it. It went down to it. In fact, Betty and me, we was more the biggest ones, watching them and all that, the kids, and telling them what they can do and not can do. And, well, we had to have Mama, something, In fact, I was working and I had to give my money to her to do the children, to do the little ones.
Did you have a lot of people in your town killed in the bombing?
Yeah, there was quite a few. Because see, there's 4 stories. And this road, and it splits in between, and it had 4 stories, 4 stories, and 4 stories. And they'd knocked every one of them down. And a lot of the people didn't know it. I mean, we didn't know it. They give an alarm, and we run to the cellar, right? Especially when the ones that was still alive over here. But over on the other side, they went in a cellar. It didn't do them much good, you know. Some people, I mean, they just killed them. But anyway, what I started to tell you, we was playing over there on the trash and the thing, you know, looking stuff, finding stuff, you know, going over it and this, trying to find what people, what their houses, what they knocked down, and if it's something important, we pulled it out and let the people look at it and see it, you know. But anyway, my sister, Joanne, Johanna was her name, and she went over there and she played, and we kind of watched them a little bit because my sister and me, my older sister and me, we had to take care of the kids. And my mother was already starting to get sick then, but we didn't know it. So anyway, they was playing and a bomb blew up. Was still live
Munitions, yeah.
Yeah, I started saying medicine there. And it blew up, and I mean, it knocked her one eye out and blew her open all the way down. And see, and okay, this is ours. Then across the big road here, over here was the caserne, the army depot. What do you call army?
Like where they stored vehicles or ammunition?
No, well, they all were the army.
The barracks.
The barracks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a big place, and the army took over it, you know, the Americans took over it. And what they don't tell you, that the Germans, if they didn't do what they was told, then they shot them. But we didn't know it then. But anyway, she played in that stuff and that, and it blew her wide open, her stomach, and she lost one eye. In fact, no, I don't guess y'all knew. Joanne, Johanna.
I've seen pictures of her.
Yeah, she's the one who got married in Lake Charles. I mean, she came over here and stayed with us, Jesse and me, for a while, you know, whatever kids I had then. But anyway, and my mother, I think it was my mother, either Betty, my older sister, walked across there, and they had them little buildings, and one army guy stayed there with a rifle, and
Yeah,
you know,
guardhouse.
yeah.
And guard shack.
And she went over and talked to him, and she told him, as much as they could understand each other, that she had a daughter, you know, got hurt. So they sent an ambulance, and they took her to the hospital and sewed her up, and couldn't do much about her eye. She lost her eye. And anyway, that's because some of them was real nice, and they learned enough to say, but that it was their fault. That little girl was in such a mess, you know, and she was about 2-3 years old when that happened.
So how long after the war ended before the American troops were stationed there? How long after the war ended did you see your first American troop? Do you remember?
It didn't end it. Yet they took the thing over right away, the caserne, the army base, I guess you call it. When we lived across here, and they took over the army base on the other side. We were scared to death until we found out, that they wasn't going to hurt us anymore. I mean,
So what kind of propaganda did the Nazi Party tell you about the Americans?
oh, that you're monsters and all that kind of stuff, and everything. And it was pretty scary, I tell you. I don't remember everything about it, but they said it was pretty scary.
Was a lot of that propaganda during the whole war, or was it just at the end?
Mainly the first part,
Okay.
as they, into the army, they come. Because there was no German soldiers at all there. When they got them, they took them, I don't know where they taken them. But they really, they was just, I don't know. They made them out like they are monsters, And they take care of us, but they wouldn't, and all that kind of stuff, I don't know. But then after my little sister was fixed up like that, and then we have begun to wondering, but we couldn't talk about it. That's one thing you could not do, talk about anything.
So who was the primary force that, or who wouldn't let y'all talk about it?
I don't know. We just were scared to talk about it because they told us if we talk about it and talk about it dirty or mean, we get shot. That's all we listened to, We didn't want to know anything else. And that's scary when you're already scared, then. So, I don't know.
So at no time during the war did the German army or the Nazi Party ever go out and visit any of the towns or anything? Any representatives from the government come out and say, it's okay, it's going to be okay, we're winning the war, don't worry about it? They just completely ignored the people.
Well, we had a curfew. Like say, I think most of the time it was 10 o'clock at night. There was no person on the street. And then the stores, they hardly had anything. I've got to take my shoe off, it hurts my toe. They had anything to sell you and that. When, as soon as you got your rations, you went to the store and bought what you could, Like our butter came in them things, the little square, what do you
Stick.
call them?
Stick of butter?
And yeah, we get that for months. It don't make no difference if it's 1 kid or 5 kids. They give you that for months, And you got, I don't know, to cook some with, and I can't remember what all it was. But I remember Mama, a lot of times I find her crying in her bedroom because she couldn't fix no food. Couldn't, cook anything. That's the way it was. And when I wanted a bread, she broke it in half and gave me half and she eat half. Or whoever one of the kids was there.
So did it seem wasteful when you came here and people would...
Yeah, and I still feel that way. That's why I told Terry, we were sitting out there while Terry said, take it with you or something.
That gravy. She brought it and put it in the refrigerator. Or she said she could eat it with biscuit later. She doesn't.
Yeah, when you come like that, getting nothing, and then you come over here and it's wasteful and that. So that's just, well, I'm worse now too than I used to be.
You rubbed off on you?
But,
So we rubbed off on you?
Yeah, you learn. I'm an American now, I'm not a German anymore.
So did the people in the community work together? Did everybody get along and help support each other, or was it just kind of every family for themselves?
That's more like it, everybody for themselves.
were there a lot of people taking advantage of other people, and
Yeah.
was there a lot of theft and looting and?
Like if you go to the, let's just say, that's just an example, I don't know exactly how it was, but when you go to the store, okay, and let's just say, okay, Mama's standing right there, and maybe I'm standing beside her, and then I hold her hand, you know, hang on to her skirt or whatever, and well, by the time she got up there, and they was nearly out of such and such a stuff, and they told us you have to wait till the next shipment come in, you know, or whatever. And she was trying to tell them she's got 4 kids at home, or 5 kids, whatever, that she's got to feed them. And they said they don't care, you know, you do what you're told and all that kind of stuff. And warned them before, they was your friends and everything, you know, and talked about you, to you and all that. And then you didn't have no friends then.
So there was no community sharing and
No.
camaraderie, and it
In
was.
fact, if they could, they'd take it away from you. And it was just not any fun anymore. You barely lived. That's one thing. So it's just, I don't know. It's just rough. I remember, it's hard to talk about it, to get it out, but I remembered, you know, and that in my mind I can't think about it. And then, see, I went to school, I went half a day to school, and I worked half a day. And as soon as I get paid on, I guess it was Friday or something, I don't know, I give it to Mama when I get home. And Betty, my older sister, she done the same thing.
What kind of job would you have if there wasn't
I
much?
worked in a Lebensmittel. That's
Absolutely.
a grocery store, huh?
Oh,
No, a grocery store. We had, where they made their own donuts and bread.
so like a bakery.
And yeah, I mean they sold, you know, a little more like sugar and flour, little stuff like that. Not big stuff, not like food in it.
So a bakery, and they sold the stuff to make bread and to make the flour, sugar, all
they
that stuff.
got
too.
it, but they couldn't sell. You didn't buy that kind of stuff from them. They just sold the bread and the donuts and that. A lot of times, when I go in the next day and there was a bunch of them left over, they let me have a few. They split it up before to their family first, and then maybe I get 1 or 2 too.
How did you get that job?
I think if I remember correctly, they was letting you fill out papers in school. It was kind of like a, what do you call, business school over here.
Like
And because it was after I was out of high school, you know.
Like a work study.
But I had to work because I had to help my mother and the kids. But no, they let you fill out and you go for an interview, just like over here, you know. And then you talk to them and that, and they liked me and they hired me and they give me a try anyway. And I worked for them for 2 years, I think.
Did you like it? Did you like the job?
I liked some of it, yeah, but it was a dirty job, sticky. I guess that's why I still can't stick in you somewhere.
So did things get better for your family after the war?
And no,
No?
worse. Because see, you didn't have anything. You had to have a license for everything. Like my mother couldn't sew, otherwise it probably would have been more so. You get a, like say, 2 by 2, or what is the measurements of a material?
A yard?
Yard.
Yard or something like that, whatever it is, I don't know. But so she had to go get it made, get the yard, take the cloth and get it made to get a dress made for whoever was next in line. And then when she gets too big for it or something, it handed me down to the next one. The same with shoes. And I guess that's why I'm so close, crazy. Always have been since I came over here. Because I never had anything. I wore one dress, I don't know, a month or so, every day, or every other day. Maybe I have two, and I switch them around all the time. In shoes, my father was so mean then, when we were still living together, he was, we wore shoes to school, and my mother handed them to us out of the window so we wouldn't have to go barefooted to school. He made us, my father made us. He was a tyrant, I guess you call him. As soon as we got home, we had to take our clothes off. We had some old rags around them. We had to walk around in them at the house.
And hang your clothes back up.
And yeah, and the shoes, put them up, stuff like that. That was when I was still little and at home, you know. We got carried away there from high school and everything. But anyway, that's the way. He said they can go to school barefooted, you know. And Mama handed us our shoes out the window.
So when were you allowed to wear your shoes?
Only the church.
Just to church? Was church a big part of...
Not him, no, my father.
Did he ever go?
No.
He never went?
We didn't need it, but Mama let us go to Sunday school.
What, was church a big part of the community? Was it a big part of everybody's everyday lives, or was it just kind of...
No, we just tried to go on Sunday if we could. Because a lot of people had a car. I mean, some people had a car and some people didn't. A friend of mine had one, like I said before. He lived out in the country. They had a big place there because they was not exactly rich, but they was, they had a gravel thing, sand and rocks and stuff like that, you know, hauling them around. But it slowed way down naturally when the war came and all that stuff afterwards.
Did the government shut the churches down?
Yeah, at first, but some people went anyway, you know, regardless. And
so the Nazi Party didn't want anybody practicing religion?
And no.
They didn't let anybody practice any kind of religion? Did they actually come?
Sometimes, yeah, they came Sundays and stood there with their guns, you know, like that. And you didn't say anything. You just done what the preacher kind of, you know, he was scared too, so I don't know. Is your bracelet loose?
No.
Oh, I just didn't see it hanging down before. I'm sorry. It bugged me to seeing it hanging down like that.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's tied now.
So,
Sorry.
Okay.
It's about that kind of stuff, you know.
so tell me about...
Anywhere where we wanted to go and that we had to walk. We had one bicycle between the 5 kids. Or 6 kids, if you want to call it. I don't call myself. Okay. Are you checking on that? Yeah. Is he all right?
So, did you know anybody that hunted? Was hunting big in that part of the country? Did you know people that owned guns and that did things like that?
Oh, guns?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I didn't know anybody like that. Like I told you, that friend who lived out more in the country.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
I didn't think they were allowed to have guns.
They wasn't. And after the war, they, you know...
Did they make people turn their guns in? And
Yeah, it's supposed to, but some of them didn't.
some of them hit them anyway?
Yeah. But my father never had
Yeah.
any. Is he asleep now?
No, he's just laying there watching his movie.
So when you came here, did you try to send your family stuff, or did y'all have the means, or
No, we didn't have the means then. We done good to do ourselves.
yeah?
Jesse didn't make but what they got in the army.
Oh, at
That's
corporal
all.
pay, probably,
Huh?
at corporal pay, probably $20 a month.
Is that what it was they called?
I think, I mean, don't quote me on that, but it wasn't much. $20 or $30 a month, I believe.
And, yeah, I didn't know it was all that much.
So did you
I don't know
anybody-
how we done it because I don't know nothing about that money over here and all that.
Was there anybody in your town, anybody that you knew that was a big supporter of the Nazi Party? That
Yeah,
Did you have people in your town that,
they thought the Nazis was okay and they was right, and then yeah, we had some of those. But the other people didn't talk
what did
to
most
them.
of the people feel?
The ones that done that with it, and, I mean, they didn't talk to him, and they ought to stay away from him. Because if you said something, they might have told him, and then they come and get you, go away, you know, or shoot you right there.
And you had some people in your town, right, that just disappeared.
Yeah.
That just, one day that,
And what's funny, like, okay, let me tell you one example. A family, he had 2 kids. And I knew it was kind of funny, you know, and that, but one day they said that he has to go see his sister or something. He never came back.
did you ever see the Gestapo, the secret police come and actually openly threaten people? Did they
No.
ever openly tell people, or was it all kind of hush-hush behind closed doors? And
They just, I guess they just come get somebody and you didn't know, and then it probably was at night. But like that, see, the family said he went to see his sister. That was him. He never came back.
after
That's
the war,
why we thought the movie was made, because they said that, you know, Daddy never get called in because he had so many kids. It didn't make no difference.
after the war, did you have a lot of soldiers returning home? Did you have a lot of people that came back after the war that had served in the army and came back home?
Yeah. And they couldn't say nothing. They were scared to death.
Really?
They wouldn't say how it was, you know, or anything like that.
Were there any, I guess you want to scratch that. No, I was thinking, how did the citizens treat,
Jesse's hollering.
He's just talking.
how did the people treat the soldiers that were coming back that fought in the German army?
Oh, they was, you know, open and asking questions, and they keep saying that they couldn't tell him anything, and it was okay, and stuff like that. They would not talk to him about that kind of stuff.
So even after the war, it was all very,
Hush, hush,
Hush
yeah.
about everything, and-
So
so,
it's just like, you know, Jesse brought my family. He brought some wood and stuff, but we could use the wood. See, we had the stove had one wood pot and one gas. It was all in one, but that's the way it was made. And so he brought wood, and we can put the wood with a fire in the wood and cook whatever we had, you know. And so he brought us sometimes bread and sometimes, you know, anything he said he could get a hold of up there. Because he lived, I mean, he was stationed in Fulda. It's way up there on the map, and we're down here. But he came down every weekend. I mean, after I met him, you know, he came down every weekend.
how did he ask you to marry him? Did he ask you first, or did he ask your mom first?
No, he asked me.
He asked you. How did he do that?
Heck, I don't remember. He just asked me if I want to go with him and to America. Yeah, that's where it was at first. And I said no. And then, by then, see, it was quite a while. And I just had learned already a few little words, and he got where he learned a little bit and understand. He was better than I am about understanding German and instead of English for me to English in it. I don't remember.
Why'd you say no at first?
Huh?
Why'd you say no at first?
Because I just thought, I have to go away and leave all my family and everything. And I just didn't want to do it. Let's put it that way.
What did you think America was like before you got there?
I don't know. Jesse told me that a lot of it is the same, but that German was, well, then it was bad because it was rubble everywhere, And all like the streetcar, we had streetcars running in that. And that was kids trying to catch it and all that. So. But no, but in a way he kind of promised stuff too, which he didn't do. That's what he told my mother, that we're going to come back, over there.
Did you think he was rich?
No. He told me that he didn't, as far as I could understand, no money and stuff like that, But I didn't know it was quite that bad. I'm talking about having to stay with his mother. That's when I was ready to turn around and go back. If I just had anything, any way or anything.
So that was the worst thing about coming here?
Yeah.
What was the best?
The best.
The best thing about coming to America?
Oh. Well, there was a little later on after I've been here a little while. Because right at first, I could cry every time I turned around.
So what were the biggest differences?
It's the way people live. I mean, Terry, she knows, like we was kind of talking a little bit. I don't know. I don't want to say names.
Like,
We can edit that out.
Daddy grew up, they still had outhouses.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
no indoor plumbing and Mother didn't grow up like that.
But you
That
spent,
was one thing, yeah.
when you first came over to America, you spent, 2 weeks in New York?
Yeah.
Okay. So what was that like when you first got to New York?
That was nice
Yeah.
because, she was my godmother. And Lena, her name was Lena naturally. And,
How long had she lived in the country?
where, over here?
How long had she
Oh,
lived?
she lived a long time. She married real young, and they was about 50, 60 years old.
Okay. So
And
way,
they still,
way before.
yeah, before all that happened. And then her sister, she's the one who was my godmother because they still lived in Germany. But they came over to visit her. Her name was Lena and Hans, Uncle Hans. And they came over to visit her, her and her husband. But they didn't do it while we were still up there. But they showed us around quite a bit of stuff and all that.
Did you like New York?
But yeah, kind of congested, I guess. Yeah, I got a word for it now. I mean, it was tight,
Was Jesse with you during that 2 weeks, or was he
Yeah.
still? Okay.
No, he was with me. That's why we could only stay in 2. It wasn't quite 2 weeks because he had to report to Norfolk, Virginia.
And that's when y'all got a beach house?
And
in
yeah,
one area?
little house. I don't know if it was a beach house, but it was a little small house, 2-story house.
And how long?
No, that wasn't it. At first we got some apartments, and one of them was, I still remember, by the railroad tracks. When I saw them big rats and that gone all over my house, and I don't care how clean, I cleaned and cleaned and cleaned, and the rats is still all over.
How long were you in Virginia? How long did y'all stay there?
Nearly 2 years.
Nearly 2 years.
And see, that was Jesse's fault. He's supposed to sign up again when we was going to go back to Germany. And he didn't want to. He wanted to get out of the army.
Did he tell you that, or did he?
No, not at first. That's what I mean. That's why I came over here. He told me and my mother that we're coming back. In a couple of years, as soon as he made out his tour over here, and then he come back. Yeah, and he was in very bad shape. I told him I'm ready to go back home. And he tried to explain to me, that it just happened that way, that he couldn't sign up again. So,
Did you think about divorcing him and going back home?
yeah, I told him if I get the money, I will. And even if he had it, he wouldn't have given it to me then.
And then after that, y'all moved to Louisiana.
Well, I was pregnant then.
Okay.
And when I got 7 months pregnant, the doctor said I couldn't make the trip because I was wanting to stay there, but the doctor said I couldn't make that trip of coming back down all the way down there, to Harrisonburg. And he said I couldn't stand the trips, so we had to come. And that was something it had to get used to.
So,
Like Terry said a while ago, had a little house, you Sears and robot pages.
and how old were you when you left Virginia? How old?
When I left Virginia.
And moved here. When y'all moved here, how old were you?
Now wait a minute. Now you want to know when I came over?
No, when you moved to Louisiana, how old were you?
Well, I was 18. Because, probably 19. Because I was, still in between there. I wasn't quite 18 when we got married. We got married in September and I turned 18 in February. And then when we came over, as I get older, I said,
And you were in Virginia for 2 years?
not quite 2 years, yeah.
So probably almost 20.
Yeah. Yeah. I was 20 because that's when
Peggy was born?
Peggy, I started, I want to say keep Terry all the time now.
So,
And
tell me about the first time you ever drove a car here in America.
I never drove a car before that. Oh golly, I don't remember. It was we lived in Harrisonburg with some friends of Jesse. And they had a farm and everything, and he thought he's going to go ahead and work for them and throw cotton, make cotton, big cotton, whatever, And they had a little house there, and you used wood and stuff like that, And so, anyway, one day, I went out there and watched him. I've done several times, watched him pick cotton. It was right about that time, I don't know when you pick cotton. I don't remember, but I watched him. Now, one time I went out there and tried to pick them cotton, pick them balls. And after I had a few splinters in my hand, I said, forget that.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, I had Peggy then. I had her in the buggy with me out there outside. But
Grandma, I was talking about this car.
and
About this car.
So how long did you get before you got your first driver's license?
I don't know. He had an old 38 Chevrolet, I remember that. It was one of those square things, And I can't remember. The only thing I remember is we took every night just about to drive Tara and Peggy around to get her to go to sleep. And we did that one time, and a truck was in front of us, and they threw rocks, and they broke the window, and glass came all over her and me. We was sitting in the front seat, and I had it in my lap, and we had glass everywhere. So naturally, every time you turned around, I was ready for tears. And while we was there, he just went ahead and went on to Gina to the hospital, either hospital or doctor's office, I don't know exactly. And they started, the hospital, use cotton, and they started dabbing on us, getting all the glass off of us. And I was crying and that, and one of the nurses took the baby, or took Peggy away from me and said, they go ahead and take care of her and let them clean you up. And sure enough, they did. They had a time getting all that glass and stuff off of me. And then, Peggy too, she was, well, I held her. She was, I don't know, a few months old. That's all, she was. And I told him then that was it. Had it. Because before that, well, yeah, like Terry said, he took me to his mother's house, and my gosh, there was nothing. I thought it was a barn or something. I didn't know that how people lived in houses like that, So, and then I had to go to the bathroom, and I wouldn't go at night. And I tell you.
Wasn't there anything here that you liked?
That I liked.
Yeah.
Not when I first came over here. I told Chissy I wish we stayed in New York.
How long was it before you were glad to be in America?
I don't know. It was a long time. And, I never glad. I mean, I was happy about it and that, but I never was glad that I wished several times.
When you went back to
several
Germany,
years to go back home.
when you went back to Germany with Mom, how had that changed? How had FERC changed from when?
Well, it changed over there pretty good too. But when I took Terry with me when we went that way, they had some of it already, but it started cleaning up again and all that. And the next time I went, when did I go again? I don't know. Went with my sister, Lordy, my sister from Minnesota. We went over there. I flew to Minnesota, and then from there we left and went to Germany. And it was getting a lot better. They was really working over there and getting stuff cleaned up. And I mean, when they say they do something like, clean it up, they clean it up. They don't do like here. Well, they say, we're going to fix that street the next 2 days. You go by, there's nobody there working or anything. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yes, ma'am.
they say, but they never do anything.